Mommy, there's 5, see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Alright, good afternoon folks. Thank you guys for joining us here at Rescue Harbor, home to some of the marine mammals we have here at the Aquarium of Niagara. My name is George, I'm one of the educators here at the aquarium, and joining me out on the beach today are some of our marine mammal care trainers who are going to be walking through our 2:30 seal presentation and feeding. Now, as the name might imply, Rescue Harbor is in fact just that. It is a rescue facility for these animals. What we have in this pool are 2 different varieties of seals. We've got both gray seals as well as harbor seals. And all of them are deemed non-releasable by the United States government. Basically what that means is that each of these animals was found beach stranded with some kind of affliction and they were sent to a rescue center. Their first stop was not us. They did not come straight to the aquarium. And at that rescue center, the only goal is to rehabilitate those animals, treat whatever affliction they may have, and get them restored back into their native waters. However, every once in a while, we do get an animal that has a certain affliction that makes them unviable for release back into their native lands. They might have a certain condition that makes them unfit to survive if they were returned. And when that happens, the United States government gets involved. They place a protection over the animal, deem it non-releasable, and then the animal needs somewhere to go. He can't really stay at that rescue center because that's really only designed for short-term care. It's designed to treat an animal, get that animal better, and then get them back into their ocean waters. So for long-term care, these animals need somewhere they can go, and that's when we step in. We at the aquarium, we open our doors as one of those facilities that those animals that need a place to go can go, because we have the resources, we've got the staff, we've got the space that can care for these animals and give them a second shot at a happy and healthy life. I did mention we have 2 different varieties of seals, and if you actually look right in front of me, we've got 2 of our trainers, Rachel and Leah, who are working with one of each variety of seal. So this is a great opportunity for you guys to get a chance to look up close at some of our seals and see some of the differences between them. On my right, your left, we have Della, who is a gray seal. And next to Della, we have Sandy, who is a harbor seal. Now as a gray seal, Della is a lot bigger. She looks almost twice the size. Della weighs about 300 pounds. Sandy's going to clock in at about 150 pounds, about half the size. So harbor seals are going to be a lot smaller than gray seals. If you also look at their faces, they do have some facial distinctions. Della, her snout comes out pretty far from her face. She has a pretty long snout. That's a gray seal characteristic. Sandy, who is a harbor seal, her snout is going to be pressed up a lot more into her face. She's going to have a much shorter snout. That's another one of those big differences. Now Sandy and Della are both kind of our older ladies inside this pool. Della is 29 years old, and Sandy is 39 years old. And both of these seals have some vision impairments. Della is completely blind due to a condition known as bilateral cataracts. Humans get it too, so do other animals. Basically, it's a condition where you get these protein aggregates that clump together in the lens of the eye, and they block light from reaching Della's retina, so Della cannot process images. Sandy had the same affliction. She developed bilateral cataracts. It's generally considered an aging condition that happens after years of wear and tear on the eyes. But Sandy became a little bit of a celebrity. She became the very first seal in the world to undergo a cataract removal surgery. So if you look at Sandy's face, you'll see that her eyes actually look slightly different from one another. Sandy does have one eye with a very visible cataract development. It looks cloudy and murky. But Sandy's other eye is going to look significantly clearer. And that's after that cataract surgery happened, and it did give Sandy partial vision restoration, so she can see a little bit. We do, though, have one more vision impaired seal. Her name is Medusa. Medusa is another gray seal. She is under the water at the moment. We'll see if she surfaces soon. And Medusa was found with bilateral cataracts. As part of her actual rescue story, it's really, really rare what Medusa has, because Medusa is also a young seal. Medusa is only about 4 years old, which is relatively young. Della was 29. She's pretty old. But for a juvenile seal to develop cataracts at such an early age, it does suggest that there might have been some kind of genetic defect in that animal that caused those premature cataracts to form, likely a misfolded protein that started to clump together in those eyes. And so Medusa is completely blind. She did undergo the same cataract removal surgery that Sandy had, and we did successfully remove Medusa's cataracts. However, Medusa did also suffer a secondary condition. She did suffer from some retinal deterioration, and so even though her cataracts were removed, she does continue to remain blind because her retinas are no longer able to process images of the light that are now reaching them. And then we've got our two really cute boys in the pool. We've got Striker, who is looking up at me, and we've got Lumiere, who is hanging out over at the far end of the pool, hopefully coming in, poking his head up, coming right up here. These are our two boys, Striker and Lumiere. They look pretty similar to one another. They're both pretty dark seals. They're both pretty young seals, about 3 years old. They are both arbor seals. And these guys have their own interesting backstories too. There's one really, really distinct difference between the two of them. Striker is actually missing something really important off of his body. It is one of his hind flippers. So Striker was actually struck by a boat, and after being hit by that boat, he actually suffered some really deep lacerations in his lower hind region, and they were so severe that at his rescue center it was determined that Striker would have to undergo a flipper amputation. Following that amputation, he was put to a swim test to see if he would be a strong enough swimmer to be returned and released into his native waters. But we did find that Striker was a little bit too weak of a swimmer. He was a little bit too weak to hunt for his own food, to swim against predators safely, to swim against ocean currents, and so his impaired swimming ability due to the amputation made him non-releasable. Lumiere, who is right up closest to me in the pool, he had some abnormal feeding behaviors. He was found malnourished and dehydrated, and at his rescue center we learned that Lumiere wasn't really hunting for live fish, and the frozen fish he was being offered, he would actually kind of chew up, which might sound kind of normal, but it's actually an atypical seal feeding behavior. These guys do have teeth, but typically they use that teeth just to kind of position the fish in their mouth correctly, and then they will actually swallow their fish completely whole. So Lumiere, by not doing that and not hunting live fish, you can imagine that's going to be a pretty big problem if you're going to be an animal that's going to live on your own out in the wild. So that's why he was also deemed non-releasable. And because all these animals were deemed non-releasable, now they're here at the aquarium, they do go through positive reinforcement training with our marine mammal care staff. You actually just watched one of those sessions happen right now. All of those buckets that our trainers hold, they contain fish. That's going to be the primary positive reinforcing stimulus that our animals will respond to. And then our trainers have some other cool, fancy scientific equipment, things like a stick with a little buoy on the end that can be used as a target pole. They can train our animals that when they touch their nose to that target on the pole, they will get a reward of a fish coming their way. Once the animal is trained that they can touch that target pole, then our trainers can actually expand on their behaviors, and by manipulating the target pole and moving it in various ways, they can build on behaviors slowly over time so their animals do slightly more complex behaviors. And then they also have those fancy whistles around your neck. You guys have probably seen those in like TV or media of trainers. Sometimes people think that the whistle is used to give out commands to animals, but that is actually a misconception. The whistle is known as a bridge, and the whistle is actually blown after an animal performs a behavior. So trainers like Kristen will use either verbal cues or visual cues with their hands or their voice to give out a command to an animal to do a certain behavior. Once that behavior is performed, the second that animal performs that behavior, our trainers will blow in that whistle, and the animals are conditioned to know that when they hear the whistle, that means correct. I did what my trainer was looking for, I have a fish coming my way, so it acts as a bridge. It's kind of like the same way if any of you guys have ever played like a video game where you have to like answer questions and you get the right one, it goes ding! It's like the ding. It lets you know that what you did was good, you got your reward coming your way. Now, all of that training is, of course, voluntary. Our animals are never forced to participate in any training, and there is a reason that we do it. So training is actually part of this animal's husbandry. The behaviors you saw were nothing particularly flashy. They're not really there for your visual entertainment. The behaviors you saw were pretty simple things like opening their mouths, raising a flipper, rolling over and showing us their bellies. Those behaviors are all things that are going to allow our trainers to walk through physical examinations with our animals when we have our veterinarian